Yes.
Hi, audio check. You guys hear me? Alan or Colin? Colin, can you hear me?
That's great.
Oh, I can hear you.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so.
That's not good. That's not good. That's not good. That's not good.
Right.
That's not good. That's not good. That's not good.
All right, sounds good. First. I did. You parked at the upper. All right, I'll. Yeah, go for it. Oh, you did, you do a training? Well, we're on the talk to them now. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna go grab cash. I appreciate it.
That's not good. That's not good. Hey, Colin, can you talk to me for like a second? I'm trying to just audio in the room. All right, thank you. Yes.
Where's everyone?
We're here.
Got replaced by a pot.
Try working outside all day in the wind. Oh, that.
Come on, can you talk to me one more time?
This photo box.
The backup, so that.
Hey, Colin, can you talk to me one more time?
What are you doing?
Hello, keep talking.
We get, yeah.
You're trying to tell me.
It's,
Some reason is my test subject for our PA system, so everyone. So count to 10 for me.
We'll get you set up right after that.
Favorite.
Yep, right over there. So.
Colin, can you count to 10?
Well, I'm not muted.
You're not muted, but I'm setting the room so that everyone can hear you in here. Because the equipment in here changed, so I'm using it to make sure everyone has questions. So can you count to 10 for me? Or tell me a story, your choice.
Two in the ambulance. Other than that, the rest of the.
Count to 10.
How am I going to explain this?
Yep.
All right.
I stay important for this. You don't come out. I don't have a dated time, but it's coming from home.
You're good, bud.
It's a long drive for me to get to Cumberland, Maine to get to the person meeting, so. Yeah,
Perfect, we can hear you.
So how does, is it Zoom or?
It's on Zoom, so what do you
Did you
have?
grab batteries?
Oh, sorry.
You have those HDMI things like.
Yes, you might, Bernie's the presenter, do you mind helping them set up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. You said double A's, correct?
Double A's.
I'll go see what I can find, then.
If not, I can run to town hall and I have the rechargeable ones. I usually bring, I just forgot them.
I can pull them out of the TV remote if I have to.
Okay.
I'll make it that.
Legal Lake Station, Legal Lake. Division.
Ah.
Wanna go old school, I'll go up if I get in one.
I'm into Portland, I got here the other night, I was like, okay, or this morning, I'm coming by VIP. And it looks like I was hired to start sitting in the. It probably is. It is. I was like, wait a minute, that's Cycle Submission.
That's the bus company.
It's so much stuff on my work computer and if it's about to work, it's easy to do.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that, they leave a whole for the year.
We should get you set up, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, he's grabbing you fresh batteries.
Okay.
Do you have a USB or do you need to use your laptop?
I use my laptop, I just gotta get it fired up and everything. Where can I put it?
It's honestly easier if you have a USB.
I don't have a USB, no.
GPS.
The issue with,
Well, let's back up a step. This is Zoom, right?
it is Zoom. However, the fact that everything is going through the podium computer, our setup, is that for audio and everything to go through, it needs to be going through this computer. So if you don't have it going through the podium computer, then people online aren't gonna be able to see your share screen.
Even if they add me to the what is it called? Like if I wasn't here, if I was at home doing this.
Then you would be on our Zoom, but everything would be operating still through this computer, right, for the recording.
This one stayed the same, but it shoots off.
Yeah, I have to have you go see this, or else we're not gonna have camera for the room.
Okay, let me fire this up in front of me.
I might have a USB stick
Well, I gotta,
for your presentation, if you want to transfer your PowerPoint.
yeah, let me try to, it's just a very big one. Let me try to compress it first. I might be able to email it and then open it up on email.
Okay.
Never even technical. What's that? Oh, no, I get two of them, five. 5, 546. 546.
I should have a USB stick in my car, let me go grab it.
Sure is. Was it on big? But they're sufficient. Sufficient. Like this one, they. Oh, down there. They had, that was a nice house, 2 car garage, nice driveway, bar. Yeah. It's nice, up the sale, huh?
Well, okay, no business, so get a good thing.
It makes sense.
I think,
It makes sense.
why,
This is legal code.
somewhere down here, that was saying, there was, the places around, supporting homes and this, I think there were two, because that makes the whole system.
Yeah.
Well, George Thompson, that was just,
Yeah, it's a situation where they have problems.
I don't want to just supposed to be that. It was a station.
I concur.
I'm gonna try to like Dropbox thing.
Okay.
I tried to email it before I left. And let's just say it didn't work.
Oh, boy.
47 slides of pictures. It's not gonna work. Being a government, we can't use hard drives. That like we can do is pressure.
Technology is never our friend. Technology is not really our friend. Speaker also. This one might have a So. Your TV remote, not so well.
But you better.
It's a 911.
And this one is from last time, but since we only use them for like a few minutes, you should be fine. It's this one that, the main one that I'm worried about. I don't want that one to die out on us. Do you have a thumb drive?
But I can, I'll be able to get it up.
Okay, if not, I can run to town hall real quick. I have one over there. It's just in my bag that I already left there earlier today.
This is my work computer.
Oh,
Yes,
gotcha.
that's the government for you. That's security. You don't want something to that.
Yeah, it's just for everything to go through the audio system. It has to be on this computer.
Where's the extra? A little bit, I didn't even, I had salt, no duck fat or, you know, salt chew. And what a good place.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's.
Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. And let me get.
All right, everybody on Zoom land, we're running a little bit behind, so just bear with us. As always, please just make sure if your microphones are not muted yet, please make sure you do so. And then, as always, we leave time for questions at the end. So bear with us. We'll hopefully be up and running in about 5 to 10 minutes.
hear anything.
All right, so due to technical difficulties, unfortunately, people out in Zoom land, we are not able to share the screen on Zoom. So you're still welcome to listen to the presentation. And what we're going to do is we're going to edit the slideshow presentation part of it for the recording. So when that comes out, you guys will be able to actually see the full presentation. Again, we apologize for the inconvenience, but unfortunately, due to the time, we're going to just get started and make do with what we got. So on that note, I'd like to welcome Bernie Kennedy. He's going to be doing a presentation on his career with the Transportation Safety team. So without further ado, I'm going to give it over to Bernie. You're the best speaker on everybody. So should we good? So thanks everybody for having me tonight. I really appreciate it. Just as kind of a side note, I'm a lot of a small family from the time from Coliseum. One of my hats on, I'm still young life at 39, as we'll see through this presentation. As I was telling the folks, it was really hard to try to put together like a really slideshow to showcase a lot of the stuff I've done in a good way. It's my 15 years in the federal government for the Department of Transportation is my career position. I've done a lot of stuff. And I'm going to try to do a snapshot of some of the things that I've been involved with and some of the other things I've been involved with in my life that is related in transportation. So without further ado, I'm going to jump off. And I will just say this is just, I'm not here officially. I have various elected in this, but this is just me speaking to you about my experiences. So just my experiences working in the government. This is not an official government statement. So that's, so without further ado, I'll jump right off. So again, Bernie Kennedy, my official job title is Transportation Safety Analyst, and I work for the U.S. Department of Transportation at the Volpe National Transportation System Center. The Volpe Center, as I'll describe here in a little bit, is DOT's, I kind of tell people it's DOT's think tank. Think of any transportation challenge that we have, either federal government, state government, local municipalities, we can most likely solve it for you. We're part of the federal government. We are 9%, we do not receive a direct appropriation to Congress. Congress does not have to appropriate money to us. I'm no different than any other Department of Transportation employee. Same, they level series, so on and so forth. We just have a little bit of a different funding structure. We work under what's called a working capital fund. Think of it as almost like consultants that work for the government, but we're just the way that that's kind of how they do things. To go forward.
Well, let me progress.
You know, when you hit the rice. Yeah.
Up and down.
Oh, okay, all right.
There you go.
All right, so just a kind of a high level, like I said, I work full-time for the Federal Department of Transportation. That's my career job. I just passed 15 years of federal service. It's been, I can't imagine it's been 15 years. Time just passes by so fast, right? And what we do in life. I came right out of college in 2010 and got hired into the federal government. Stops along the way, so it's pretty unique these days to be in a career for that long. A lot, especially young people like myself, move around a lot. But I really like that and I'm very passionate about it. So I wanted to make this my career, and I'm very fortunate. I graduated college from King State College, class of 2009, with a degree in safety and occupational health. As I mentioned, I'll get into that a little bit more, just kind of how I got to where I'm at today. My official job title is Transportation Safety Analyst.
And essentially, the work I do is rail-based, transit-based, you know, Amtrak, commuter railroads, freight railroads. We work with the Department of Defense, anything that run rails, we're involved with in some cases. We do a lot with the MBTA as well. So I always like to start when I do these type of presentations. Transportation safety was not my original career. That I've always been interested and passionate about my entire life since I've been cleaning diapers. Change has always been my thing. But in high school, based on a lot of factors, I grew up in the town right outside of Boston, Watertown, Massachusetts. And I had family history on both sides of my family in the fire service. My both grandfathers were firefighters for over 30, 35-year careers. My mother's father was a Watertown, Mass firefighter for over 32, and my dad's father, who I'm named after because I'm a fourth, Bernard Kennedy fourth, but he was a Boston firefighter for 40 years. So it was no surprise that anybody at the time, it was kind of like the family business. That's what everybody went into. So after I moved up to New Hampshire in high school, and went to high school in Pinkerton Academy, graduated in 2004. Site set. I was going off to college at the New Hampshire Community Technical College up in Laconia, who has a really fire science program. We're living up in New Hampshire. When I was first when we started out, I got hired by the town of Sanderton as a probational firefighter, so that helped further my training. As you see, I kind of tracked this to the what percentage it was. I completed 90% of my two-year degree. It was 99%. I had an unfortunate medical setback due to a prior medical condition that it was known it was not a medical thing. Just kind of didn't know it was going to affect me due to a condition I've had at birth since I was born prematurely. And that kind of happened right before I was supposed to go off to the State Fire Academy. As going to a third degree in fire science, it doesn't guarantee you a job in the fire department. It just gives you kind of a leg up. In New Hampshire, it's not a civil service state, so you basically take a state CPAT exam every fall, and then they put you on what's known as the state list, and then the departments hire off the state list. And having an associate's education, and you're able to kind of get a leg up on folks, in the future once you get hired on. And the fact that I didn't get the fire academy completed because of my medical setback was a little dragging on that type of thing for me. It was a little pressure for somebody that was at the time 19, 20 years old, and so close, but still couldn't get it done. So I kind of put myself back out and said, I better, look at things and find something that's gonna keep going. I still wanted to get an education. I didn't want to throw in the towel at that age. So I was up about it, doing a little bit of searching on I found out that Keene State College has a really well-known bachelor's degree program at Keene State in Keene, New Hampshire in safety and occupational health. What I found is that the idea with that degree could go in any different direction. My mother said, I'm here to back my mind now as I talk to you all. Why don't you apply? You never know what can happen. I applied, the transfer applications were due in summer of 2007. Got accepted. And they looked at all my credits, the fire science major, they're like, oh, we're in great shape. We'll take everything. So transferred all my credits off to Keene State in the fall of 2007. So fast forward to going to Keene State, I go to Missouri, took got a lot out of it. Did some really good trips, which I'll touch on a little bit later. We've got a couple of slides that had a profound effect on my career. Graduated in Mega 9. Seriously, I wasn't straight A student. I was probably I was over through DPO. Like I said, doing internships, I took it seriously. It was every resource available that Keene State provided to me. Because I realized I'm like, safety, this is like a new career field. And then it just kind of came to me. I can do transportation safety as a career. So, kind of a high level of all the stops so far. As I mentioned, I had some key internships, and I will just kind of touch on here and touch on other stuff briefly, and then we'll just kind of go into more detail. Between my first college and my second college, between my intro tech time and the Keene State time, I was still taking college classes at a different campus for the school. Those of you might remember, like for folks that have kids, you have to kind of stay active in college for insurance. So I was just taking other classes just to kind of reevaluate what I wanted to do. She says, "What do you say resume to level 2 in Boston?" Okay, sure. So I sent my resume. They looked at it. When safety, fire department, all this other stuff, and they're like, the perfect fit in the safety department. So I did that internship from January 2007 to January 2009. I'll come back to that later because that kind of ties into how everything has gone for me so far. Mass General Hospital, one of the healthcare institutions in the world, especially in this country. I was an environmental health and safety intern there between junior and senior year of college. I know that as well, and that same definitely was turned into the safety professional that I am. Every aspect and facet of the safety profession I want to touch today on Mass General. Fire safety, hazardous waste, electrical safety, emergency planning. The list goes on. I'm able to do so much in just that short time. As I said earlier, I got hired. Luckily, I did some other reviews, but nothing kind of panned out. 2009 was a little bit of a tough job, especially for the safety field. Maybe a couple of places, some did, things happen for the way they should. Is that I made a phone call to my retired boss moving me through. And in quotes, this is what he said to me. He said, "We'd love to hire you here. Unfortunately, we don't have any open positions. However, I may have some contacts in the industry. Let me get back to you." He calls up some folks that worked at the rest of the Transportation Safety Center. I got this guy, one guy, Bernie, who's great, very talented, very passionate. He did a great asset for the organization. And that was kind of the opening of the door. I got brought into the DOT in 2010, and I was brought in an entry-level hiring program for young professionals. That's still where I am today, and hopefully we'll make a full career out of it. I've got 15 plus years now and keep it going. And I've also worked in the rail industry over at Tacoma Scenic. I also worked at Patriot Rail, which Patriot Rail is the Portland Saki Rail that went in the from Lincoln down to Concord, Lincoln to Tifton, excuse me. And I touched on that a little bit as well. So kind of just highlight a little bit of my experience to date. It's kind of a good picture. That's one of the very few pictures I have as an intern with the team. And that's at the Wellington campus in Wellington. The type of person that I don't forget where I came from. For all the people that gives a laugh about how bad the team is, I'll never say a bad thing about the team because it got me to where I am today. I still have a lot of friends over there. They're certainly expanded. Since I left there and went on my young life to talking about they've since merged with Mass DOT, and they've certainly been huge. The safety department in Mass County, I think, had over 100 people. And when I was there, it was 100 people. So they've certainly gotten quite big. So I'm starting my background on the scenic. So picture on the left is, I don't know how old I am, probably sometime in the 1990s. And I used to go up there frequently during vacation and ride with him all the time. My parents used to take us all up. I'm the oldest of 3 siblings. We used to go up for like a 2-week. It was common we used to do a weekend, which a weekend into each. And thought, and 54 years later, working there, starting in 2013, was the former operations manager of County Scenic. I actually met Paul through a connection. I was up there for a work project for DOT. We were doing a project for the Federal Road Administration, and I had to gather documentation from every passenger road in the country. That includes every tourist railroad. So I had to do a lot of, in some cases, some face to face in some places to just kind of familiarize themselves with what you're looking for and why you're looking for it. So I met Paul and just kind of asked him, I was like, do you have a part-time assistant from Becky's? Absolutely. So fill out the application and to the races. I was at Common Scenic from 2013 to 2022 for probably 8 years old. This was a long time. And I met a lot of people there. Some of them will show them tonight. The guys up there had a great time. It was like a family up there. Just some early pictures from Common Scenic. That's actually my qualification paperwork. I'm qualified as a trainer. Speaking of the first sentence, that's in front of 4266. Yep, that's when I started a conversation. People who think this guy's experiences, right? Get people think that. Oh, they threw me right into the lines then. I went right on the notch train in the middle of the fall when they started adding 9 cars on the notch train. To this day, my biggest disdain was trying to switch out the yard at the end of the day. Make about 20 different moves to put 3 cars here, 2 cars here. But it's a lot of good experience. That's good. I started in September, so I do about in October.
And I'm looking forward to November.
So I work on Sundays, so I don't know if it was, but in any case, that was a really good time. And I will say too, I call them extra things I've done in my life. That feeds into the main focus of everything. Yes, I'm passionate about rail. Yes, trains was something I've been passionate about. I didn't certainly was fine with one. But you'll see as I go on this presentation, a lot of the work I was doing was 100% focused on rail. I was working a lot with federal partners, the Federal Road Administration, on passenger rail projects. And it just dawned on me, I said, I'd love to have experience working on the personal thing. Talk to talk, I can understand, when something happens and there's something going on in the industry, I can relate to it because I've done it. It doesn't matter if you have as we see in the industry, things can happen to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're going 60 or 70 miles. So I should be having experience of that. I've been very fortunate. I'm kind of in a spot in some cases. When I tell people full time, I say I work for the Department of Transportation. They kind of, wait a minute, when you work for the railroad, because normally that would be kind of a conflict. But because I'm in a research and special projects division, I'm not a regulatory person, so I don't, there's no conflict there. Yes, I checked before I did, but I'm kind of in a spot in the lucky that I've had that ability. This is an early picture from this community. You might see some familiar faces in there. Clay Fowler, that's on the left. He was my husband right there. That's me. The guy in the middle is Bill, who's one of my good friends, and was actually I connected. When I got hired, he was trained, and they promoted him, and I worked under him. Paul used to call it the Burning Bill Show on Sundays because we were both bees. Ben English was the narrator, and that day. And all of those have quite a bit of experience, both in historical areas with Ben and other history knows, Corey and Blair, to look for the full time. So, second stop for me, as much as I would still like to be up in West Conway, we got to the point from that it would be hard to drive, from Manchester, I live in Massachusetts, I'm in the New Hampshire border, right below Nashua. From to a conference, every time it was going to take to get to North Conway, a 5 hour commute for me. It was like 2.5 hours each way. Topped with, on some busy fall days, it was on factory and everything. And then I had to go to work Monday. So I was like, yeah, I kind of had to I was like, as time got on, I kind of slowed down a little bit. I worked less and less and less. And, I called towards the end, I called myself to Spielberg work occasionally. Several of my coworkers from finally went down to Meredith, working for the Winnipesaukee Scenic. From weekends. Kind of, why don't you come with us? Why don't you come with us? I finally listened to him when I did. I'm not sure that so I got hired on with the Somerset LinkedIn as an assistant conductor in 2022. Qualified when I look at my experience, so I wouldn't qualify you with conductor tomorrow. We went from open training to conductor training overnight. Got qualified in 2022 and I've been a conductor ever since. For those who followed the industry, Cobra Railroad is no longer, it's now with the Grand State Railroad, and Winnipesaukee is still Winnipesaukee. The corporate name, the Plymouth and Lincoln Railroad, which is the corporate name that we use for all of our official filings with the federal government, was purchased by Patriot Rail Company out of Jacksonville, Florida. Patriot Rail is a regional freight railroad company that take to 31 freight railroads in the country. Three of the first excursion passenger railroads that they have, and they're growing. They're starting up another passenger line in Pennsylvania on other freight lines, and they also have a passenger line down in Georgia. I've also been a lead for our operation, emergency responder training, which kind of ties all of my safety background, my fire science background, firefighting background. I've been doing that since 2024. They approached me and said, training for our firefighters. We haven't had anything to the fullest extent that we like. So I took that, developed a whole program, and we're trying to do training for all of our agencies. The picture on the right, left is just kind of picture on the right, you really can't tell that right there in the middle, that's me on a shed move coming in through Wheels Beach. Which does not look like that anymore. It's not really as tight to do, so it's not painted good. So some more recent pictures, the caboose I just talked about. That's a progress of the around spot. That's right in Meredith Yard. I say you do a runaround spot because we don't do runarounds anymore. We used to when we had a break from that we since last year, we're running trains into downtown Laconia where they also do the railroad operation. So every trip, I'll have to sit in the caboose. We have a bell, lights, horn. We have to do a shove back to Meredith. She's got the thing that's the challenging part. It's going to Wheels Beach in the middle of summer with all the people, which is the fun part. But I really enjoyed it. This from some really good experience, some exposure in the industry. So it kind of talks a little bit, this is kind of the shift here to now professional care at the Volpe Center. So the Volpe Center is the John Volpe Transportation System Center, and this is after John Volpe, who was the former Massachusetts governor and Secretary of Transportation. This is kind of our framework as it is today. Secretary Duffy is our current Secretary of Transportation. And then we fall under the Office of the Undersecretary of Policy and Under Secretary of Research and Technology. So I mentioned earlier, research and special projects and technology is kind of a mission, so to speak. So we established in 1970, and in 1995 we were as actually we were a former NASA facility. It was supposed to be a NASA research center. But then the funding dried up and they transferred everything to Houston, where it was NASA is in Houston now. So it was supposed to be, hello Cambridge. So hello Houston, it's supposed to be hello Cambridge. This picture is actually a brand new facility that opened last fall at 220 Binney Street, that is outside Kendall Square. Facility was built in the 70s when the facility was built. We went from 6 buildings to 1. And for them to see the old architecture, the building had that old feel. Traditional old style office building, everybody with offices, now this new facility, it's beautiful. It's nice. We're all in cubicles now. There's there's a lot less offices than there was, so it's a change. We're not going through all this here that's in the PowerPoint, but just the thing is to think transportation think tank. As I mentioned earlier, there's not one problem that's presented to us by sponsoring resources that we handle. Purpose is to support of transportation. So add the nodal administrations within the DOT, because the DOT entity under the secretary's office for FAA, for aviation, FAA for rail, federal transit, et cetera, et cetera. That's kind of our daily day. That's really the operation. But we also can work for states. We can work for state DOTs, for local cities, towns, private transportation companies, for pretty much everybody. As I mentioned earlier, we're fee for service. So what that just means is for a time, everybody has rates, like a consulting agency. We might just pay for my time to work on that project, just for hours to a project. We don't get, like I said, a budget from Congress. So it's kind of nice in some cases. We're so neat that when the government shuts down too, we can still work, which is good to that. When everybody else in the workforce, it's kind of a good place to be sometimes. But it's nice to be some kind of that little federal entity we can still keep the work moving forward. And like I said, again, we're people service and we're kind of a transportation think tank. We do everything. I could do it for hours on because there's so many facets. We've got engineers, we've got safety professionals, we've got scientists, community planners, environmental folks. The list goes on. When supporting our areas of transportation safety is kind of a focus on a lot of the work I do, infrastructure modernization as well. But yeah, safety is the number one DOT goal, and we touch all these different rules. This is kind of a org chart just to kind of give you guys a flavor of how we're configured. You see infrastructure systems and technology. That's the technical center, so it's the home, so to speak, where I'm headquartered under. And there's different divisions under that. And I'm down here, infrastructure and engineering. So I just transferred divisions after 15 years to the current group that I'm in. A lot of it out of that group, so it's been a really good move for me. Just kind of an overview of our workforce. Like I said, all the roles, not going to go into the Gen Z and somebody one of our communications folks put this together, but and the folks over advanced degree, folks with master's degrees, we have a lot of PhDs. I see doctors' titles in our organization I've never seen in my life. We've got a lot of smart people, smart people. We have a lot of technical background, but really on their skill sets, and they're very fortunate to have the folks we do. If you look at the whole, so at one time, several years ago, pre-COVID and how things have changed when we arrived in the workforce, probably around 15 pounds, 1,700 folks. Plus, we had a few hundred contractors on site, federal contractors. We're now down about 500 to 600. The federal resignation program, which is like a retirement program. There's a lot of things that so FTE time is kind of fluctuating. But if you look at the whole DOT, we're a pretty small footprint with some agency. So there's some of the projects, some interesting stuff that I've done. Some of these I'll probably talk very briefly on, others I'll spill a little bit on interesting aspects. So I give time for questions at the end. So we support the Office of Research Development and Technology for fire safety for passenger trains. It's one of the big programs. As you see on the screen, we do a lot of things. We do sea fire testing. Signs like we get the suit from a passenger rail car, go to a testing laboratory, and see if it's been in service for a predetermined amount of time, 10, 15, 20 years. Laboratory contractor where we run fire and understand how things run, the survivability of people that are happens. Because there's been a lot of research that we've done over the last 10 to 15 years for fire tests because of when we have the dinosaur, right? All those ancient cars. It's not the other shell that's the concern. And those cars have been refurbished. But as materials break down over time, we've kind of studied the effects of that and understand how they work and where we can there's some testing improvements in other areas. We've done ring corner tests, which is basically like putting a frame in a corner and seeing how it evolves, like kind of connecting them to the rail car. It's just so like a rectangular rail car, putting a fire in the corner like a trash can fire or something like that. And then we've done floor assembly tests where we really, this is probably one of the biggest ones we've done. We go to a testing laboratory that has a full scale mock-up of a rail car floor. And it's scaled down, of course, not a full floor assembly. They wait fully and they will test it to see when it will fail. That's been quite interesting. We also do evacuation modeling. There's the evacuation modeling software. And basically what it is you have different rail cars modeled. So they're going to load it up like it's a rush hour train. We're going to put X amount of people on the planet, existing people. There's a fire in the train. How long is this blocked? How long does it take people to get out? Understand the requirements for evacuation. Unlike a time where the FAA has put stringent standards on evacuation from the airplane, and the systems and the FAA currently does not have a standard right now for evacuation out of the aircraft. But also we've done participated in one of the 130 committee. I feel the National Fire Protection Agency 130 committee is it's a little specific to rail and transit. So we've been involved with our committee for several years. So as I mentioned, most of the work that I've done has been centered on passenger rail. I supported for a good chunk of my career, and most of it, honestly, up until several years back, the passenger rail division, which we created in 2009, that they basically put together subject matter experts in the FAA Office of Safety that worked in passenger rail careers. And these safety specialists, a good example, when the ground was expanding up to Freeport in Brunswick, so passenger rail division is involved because just like any other line expansion in the world, this is kind of like FAA's area of all the offices of the FAA. You have signal, you have track, you have operating practices, all the different disciplines. There never was a passenger rail specific discipline. They had this division for several years. Unfortunately, sales are right around COVID. They dissolved the division. A bunch of folks out of that group retired and others moved on. But I wouldn't say that it was fully shut down. I think it may come back at some point in the future. Time there's some question if I'm a passenger. Somebody's like, well, who's our passenger rail expert? And they're all kind of around, they're trying to figure out who it is because there's not some division like there was where people can go to answer those questions. Sorry. So one that I was did was for that passenger rail division, a central database. Every passenger railroad. So basically, everything that the train crews had to carry: timetables, fact charts, schedules, testing plans. We had a central depository that was on our internet site, so it wasn't publicly accessible, of course. And like probably thousands and thousands of documents for every railroad. And basically, it was for compliance for all of our inspectors, the FAA, so they can basically that to me concerned whether or not the dams about we need to get the track chart for that train line. Rather than call the railroad and say, can you send it to us again? And then we have this website and we had all that. So it's quite an expansive thing. Including itself, this high profile passenger air accidents that folks have probably heard about in the past 10 years. Track 180 in Philadelphia, track 501 in DuPont, Washington, where the train went off the highway, off the bridge into the highway. This site was pivotal because we had other documentation that there would somewhere around and we have to go about doing this information. Just as I talked about, sea accidents were huge. Just in how they happen, what happens. That SharePoint site that I talked about, the internal site that I just talked about a second ago, was huge because these two accidents were so high profile in the industry. FAA were boots on the ground for it to get all that technical documentation. So this, I mean, I was literally like within 15 minutes of getting notification of an accident. I was sending them, track the specification diagram of the rental car. Here you go. I sent them every documentation I had, and it was really, really helpful. So some safety activities that I've been involved in, I kind of get into the quickly. Safety exercise, which was kind of a rail training program. It was designed by a now passed away colleague of mine from the FAA, Dick Toll. He had a real passion for the emergency services. He was a former deputy police chief down in the West Shore of Boston, West Shore of Massachusetts, excuse me. And we looked at training for first responders, and it's not as adequate as it really should be. These two pictures are kind of relative because this is kind of like right in the backyard. These are right before the extension of the downstream up to Brunswick. There's Brunswick or Freeport folks, but we had training to a lot of different agencies. This was before the extension was active, so all the trains were still well done. Really give the first responders the opportunity to train for the equipment because it's huge for them to have that opportunity. So some more pictures. That's kind of a group shot of one of the days. Right there. This is similar. It says better than operation lifesaver, very safety for emergency responder. Similar sort of emergency responder training program. Again, with my colleague. Mass Coastal, Clean, South Coast Rail, and all the stuff that's been going on there since. These two pictures are actually in Fall River before South Coast Rail was even constructed. But given the folks at Fall River and Bedford Fire Department's training for emergency response. Some of the pictures that's in Fall River. So, for several years, was a highway crossing and trespass prevention program. So that still goes on to this day. As it says, research in road crossing and trespass prevention. Some of the stuff that's kind of highlighted here in this slide. This was a study that we did with transit down in Mattawa, New Jersey. See that bottom picture there? There's that this section of boot. So we call that a boot scope. Install that. And that's right to the left of the picture is where the station platform was, and it was a high-level platform. The Blue Transit does a really good job of channelization with the fencing so that people can't, like, it's not wide open like some of the other crossings are by train stations where people can just duck down the elevator onto the platform. this is very channeled, so people have to kind of go the path that you're supposed to go. But what does everybody do? I'm running late for the training, and maybe running, just like this top picture. And I believe there was a couple of fatalities of that road crossing. That's kind of started this whole thing. It's a kind of a totally encompassing project. We don't just install something and say, "Oh, have a nice day." I will say, well, technology and data and research, that's our drive. We work with different partners, in this case, NJT. In similar cases, where we've done other projects specific to road crossings, we've installed camera systems, surveillance systems, and actually tracked how people things to see how they've treat the safety investments. Is it working? Is it not working? We've done some other things locally down in Massachusetts. We did some striping with the town of Vermont, Massachusetts. There was a railroad crossing that was in Fitchburg, was getting backed up every time there was a light. People were stuck on the crossing when when the train was going to be coming. We did a whole thing with the town. It was just treatment. And there was a big sign that we said, "Don't block the lots." So we did the town, that for no problem. They put a camera system on the signal bungalow, cleared the data. And this is just a safety enhancement, for working around grade crossings. And it's just kind of a little snapshot of some of the things we've done. Like I said, we've done so many different things. I would be there for probably a week, if not longer, to tell you all the different things we've done, specifically the road crossings. It's one of our legacy programs. It's been involved. I've been involved in some cases since I started, and bits and pieces. Sometimes more frequently, other times I've worked on it often, but it's one of our long-standing programs. Just another study on road crossing traffic signs. You can't see that well, but that sign that's right under the stop sign and the sign below actually those blinking lights. For like passive crossings, people like these figure it out. Lines of sight, very straight, up to the tracks. People are distracted for whatever reason, studying the effectiveness of these LED signs and how they were working. Again, we put up a surveillance system for the cases where we had various areas with significant, we actually had a trailer built, like a highway trailer or a truck. And a system out of a mass that we developed. So we again come out of the box and work to use these different things that we've come up with. This is just an example. This is up in Swanton, Vermont. As close as we get to them as the Canadian border. To the left of this picture is Castle Bridge. And let's go this way, we're in Vermont, but the only train that comes through here is a Canadian national train. So this is one of the ones where we did signage, and we use that trailer to track the kind of the drivers at this crossing. So I picture that location with the train passing through. So I'm going to get into some other stuff here. This is kind of a recent project, something that's really kept me busy for the last several years. And as I'm going to explain to you, it's going to keep me busy probably for a long, long time. Being a federal entity, as I mentioned earlier, there's so many different aspects of the federal government. It doesn't have to just be the Department of Transportation. As you can see, we worked in the Department of Defense, federal support, sponsors. I should have opposed on that. I use the term sponsor. It's not like fee for service agency. Those are the folks that say, "Oh, Volpe wants you to do this." So they give us funding for the various work that we're doing. That's why we call them a sponsoring agency. So we go to farming tank. It's coming around. The government loves acronyms, I know. So TOCOM is the sponsor. We've been supporting them since 1980. Rail modernization, and acquisition support. So those pictures are right there. Those are food Cummins genset locomotive that was built by a company called National Railway Equipment out of Illinois. Tier 4 environmentally friendly. We actually, so we're actually contracted to build those. The cameras, we said we need to modernize our fleet. Can you help us? This is the requirements for to put the equipment. So the first extent that we went to, as you'll see on other sides, the deal has been running mostly, especially, most of their fleet is in GE switchwheel locomotives from like the 50s and 60s. So there's certainly an older fleet. We went to, we actually procured and purchased these locomotives kind of previous to my time at the DOT, kind of happened right before I started, but it's kind of a cool thing because we're right up in the building that says who purchased the locomotive and has our name on it, which is kind of neat, I think. But they're pretty cool locomotives. That's the picture is actually about Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Just a better picture of one of those genset locomotives. The 3GS, that's the designation. So 3GS, that's 3 genset. They offer 3 genset models, 2 genset. The thing about them is standard locomotive, it's 100% power at all times. These are so designed so well that if you're in switching, which most of the Army, for the most of the operation of their installations across the country and bases, they really get out of notch 2 or notch 3. These are heavily computerized. They're the least amount of hours to run first. Then as you get farther up in the control notches, then the second engine comes on, then the third engine comes on. So they're the fuel savings, the maintenance savings. They operate under a 184-day FAA inspection cycle, so it's a longer cycle for maintenance versus like your old cycle style locomotives. Some of the maintenance work that we've done, which is kind of a big little component of the work we've done, not just change the middle, that's actually traction model change outs for both of those units. Fort Campbell on the left and then Fort Hood, Texas on the right. This is a big undertaking. Traction model. For these locations, a lot of Army bases have pits and everything, but they don't have overhead cranes. So we one-stop shop. Everything in that picture, the people that work on it is contracted and just down through by us. Just everything. But then the dude comes to us and says, "We have this problem. Help us fix it." And this is kind of the result of some of the things we've done. It's kind of a neat thing to see a locomotive lifted up that way. Just an interesting thing, the way we've done it. So, like I said, we've seen these 29 genset locomotives for most of the time I've been here for the last 15 years. We do repairs and component change out. We do periodic safety inspections. I say we the contractor that does it. It's not me out there with my tools doing it. I'm not. We have some really folks that are very qualified, very trained. They work for a good company. Who just most of the folks that we work at, the big people, I should say, they work for the company that actually built these locomotives. So that's who we contracted with. They've since moved on to other companies, but you can't get much better than one. We mentioned the inspection cycle. So that is this product safety inspections. It's because it has a microprocessor computer. As it's largely complicated, it's going to be very busy this year because the Department of Defense came to us. So we additional support. We have these, we call them conventional locomotives, where the older style, the Jews, which is kind of the bulk of the fleet. I mentioned that we have the 29, other locomotives that we support. Just building off of that relationship we have with our sponsors at the DoD. It all goes back to just working with our folks. They come to us. This is really just evolved over time. We just have kept growing this program. They've been really folks to work with. It's been it's rare, so it's something I'm very passionate about and very made to work on, but it's also the nation's defense. It's a military. All of the rail equipment is directly tied into national defense. If the rail shuts down, it goes up to the general of the base. Why aren't the locomotives moving? It's a big thing. If they can't get their locomotives in service enough to move their equipment. So as I mentioned, it's going to get really busy this year. They came to us and said, "Help, we need you guys to look at additional 72 locomotives." So in a 6 months time frame, we went from controlling 29 locomotives to 101. So it's going to be quite a busy year. Like I said, we've got a lot of locomotives. This automotive style, the GP panels, the GP9s, 10s, the 16s, and GP30-2s, that came from other railroads. All locomotives, to my knowledge, that were built before was those drum sets that I talked about before. Just some shots at some of the examples, some of the different power units out there. Fort Campbell was a GP10 on the left, and GP40PH-2. That's a form of, it's essentially a GP40 that was used by Virginia Railroad Express for their passenger trains. The military bought 3 of them. Some other examples, some of those different styles out there. There's some of the bases, the smaller locations that can't handle the larger locomotives, the 120 tons. They use the junior tonners. Probably one of the last places that use 80 tonners, honestly. They really love them. This is at Phillies, just Virginia, which is also the U.S. Army's training school. I would add too, all the train crews that work for the Army, it's kind of a split. Folks that work that are directly employees of the Department of Defense, other locations of folks that are contractors. One of them is a federally certifiable for engineers or conductors, a license from the FAA. They could do that job and that same track and have the same license. So they're federally certified to the same level. And then finally, on the right, that's those 2 units, they're also gensets. They're 2 GS. They're 2 genset models down at Naval Weapons Station, Crane, Indiana. And it's a naval facility. Used to be out there, the rail system was out there until it transferred to the Army. The Army's paint scheme is red. This is yellow. So so now, just to kind of give you just a wide breadth of the types of different things we've done as far as the rolling stock. Something I will add to picture. We're actually in the process of working with the Department of Defense and fully replacing the 4,000 feet direct stock cars that have those tanks. The current ones have reached kind of the end of service life. They've worked with us to develop our full, find a suitable contractor and start getting cars built by a contractor. The picture I'm looking at is actually an operation to that was built by a company in Minnesota called Spexis. And this was kind of a throwback to the, if you ever look up the 80 tonners, some of the early 65 and 80 ton switchers were built kind of same to that, it's very similar to that. This is key because a lot of the middle shipyards, I'm going to kind of transition a little bit here. We also look for the Navy looking for the Air Force. So we've got the full suite of all the DoD areas. All the shipyards, Portsmouth shipyard, Norfolk, all the locations are designed for these older locomotives. You can't use a large locomotive because it's tight track, it just doesn't work. So this was a little bit example of a location where we became certified through the Association of American Railroads. And they were able to go, the guys are really happy with it out there. It's going to a Army base out in Kentucky. And so that's, I call it kind of a railroad tag. It's a railroad car spotter. It operates, it can operate on the railroad, but also the tires. It can, if you guys have ever heard of Trackmobile, it's the same sort of thing, just a different manufacturer. But that was also, we purchased that. The driver, it's a purpose, I should have probably said that in the start. It's not just, we don't just get the money from the dealer. So have a nice day. The whole process from start to finish. What's the technical specifications? We do all the market research. We do all the cost estimates. We do all the right to the site and look at what they're looking to recommend. I think we should go with this. We don't kind of narrow down the manufacturer because we usually do full and open procurements, but it's a full operation. We don't just working on hybrid equipment. It's we really invested in what we do to really ensure that the dealer gets what they're looking for. So transitioning, this is some really quickly about some of the work that I've done. This is back switching here a little to I do sponsors, working for the Federal Trade Administration recently on here we've had a lot of safety challenges in the last couple of years. The Federal Trade Administration came out with a safety inspection, which was kind of like a safety audit, looking at all of their operation, from operations, training, staffing, track conditions, facet of their operation. And they came with several, I don't call them recommendations, but special directives. They directed state in the country has a state agency above the transit agencies called state safety oversight. The state safety oversight agencies report to the Federal Transit Administration or the oversight. But these special directives were directed towards the team Massachusetts DPU. And the one that I was 22.6, which dealt with training and staffing and challenges a lot of the operations control center and High Street in Boston. This is the nucleus of the MBTA subway system. Just some more pictures. This is from some dispatchers, and as part of that training program, aside from sitting in classwork, you actually have to go out on the landlines that you're dispatching. These were two dispatchers. This is out like the field day, as they call it, out in the lead extension effort. Same day, we went to the system. This is right outside Copley Station at the junction where the green line goes left to Hugh Street, goes straight towards, straight towards Kenmore and all the other branches. And then the road that's at their station, turned out to our station.
That track the same as like down here, maybe the old main central?
Right. I believe it is.
Okay, and it looks a little different.
So I just was going to say, I've been very fortunate. It's taken me to some really interesting places that not everybody can just go into. I've had a lot of interesting opportunities. I'm very eternally grateful that I was having opportunities. Just really, especially somebody who's just so interested in transportation, especially there. People say that they walk through the Grand Central Terminal. This is at Grand Central. The picture to the left there. And it's just unbelievable. It's really clear that I have these opportunities. Opportunity at 3 o'clock in the morning. This is the Australian tunnel out of Penn Station. Really cool opportunity. This tunnel is where all the trains that go up to like all the, so this tunnel. There's 2 tunnels that go up there. And of course, being a very active airline, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning is really the time of development these things. So you have to be versatile to do these different projects at different times of the day. Some other pictures, this is outlining a little bit about the side complex. That's on the left, of course. I'm under an M7. That's where you know electric transport power. This is during one of our fire safety technical visits, looking at electric transport cars for fire safety research. Kind of like how it's all safety related. I'm person to say, I don't want to help out. Seem to get the test done for the training we're doing. This is at Saco and the Saco Industrial Shop, and I was graciously accepted the training person to get rigged out of the side of a river system 500 series locomotive. You can see the right picture straight out of the window. High up. Just otherwise, just don't grab, please. That's all right. I don't want to dropped. Good opportunity, though. Things like working with emergency services professionals, coming from my background, that I was interested in firefighting and was trying to do as a career. This really touches all of my current work and just kind of brings everything together. So, about the field work, I joked and said, that's the first class treatment for the railroad. That was certainly a safety evacuation exercise in Centerville. And I was a victim and I was had a broken back. So they strapped me to a stern stairchair and to community island. To that picture is in Essex Junction, Vermont, Central Railroad. One of the largest emergency responder training opportunities I've been involved with, working with the Central Railroad and the local emergency responders up there in Vermont. We had over 90 people of that one events this in 2013. So, any questions? I threw a lot at you. Like I said, I've done so much. It's so. I really like think of like it's like they're interesting, but I think they touch folks' interest here. Bring that historically group. You know, you had to sleep if I showed you pictures of airplanes because you're all into training. So, but anybody have questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, earlier you were talking about doing tests safety of real cars, like setting a fire and see how it spread. Or did any of those tests actually result in changing the design of the passenger car, or is it?
So my knowledge, not anything terms with the design. The biggest thing with the fire testing was the regulations for the FAA fire tests haven't been changed since like the early 2000s. So we were trying to bring the testing regulations for the railcar materials to current standards. And the other thing too, if keeping the downstream zone because we close to the Downeaster line, but Amtrak said tomorrow we're going to take out the Downeaster engine cars and totally refurbish them from the ground up. Amtrak's required, like when you pass a railroad, when they do a major refurbishment of cars, they have to go through what's known as a fire safety analysis, which is like a fire hazard analysis that they have to go through to talk about the changes they're going to make, hazards, how you're going to remove the hazards. They just kind of go through all the stuff that they're going to do. Seat cushion materials and will be tested to this requirement, so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's I think your question one was to change the design to the railcars. Is that what best?
They move the doors to a different location, or you still have some material or something.
See, the things too that we kind of focus, I said, was the testing regulations, but the performance of the materials that had been in service for X amount of time. Like, we're not talking about rail cars that were out of service last week. We're talking about stuff that's been still maintained, but it's a big unknown factor, like my stuff. If there's a fire in a rail car, my stuff that's been broken down over time, all those materials work. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Those fire tests, they're not cheap, but they're recognized as unbelievable. The testing laboratories that and referee is used for our program. They put sensors on every aspect of the video and audio. And so much data that they want to other people in fire engineering with this data. Understand how the fire performs and how to really kind of simulations they use. So.
Do you also say transportation, does that trailer stuff? To it up, really.
So I'm intrapolated at Federal Military, I think CSA, that's one of the DOT branches for them. So we do work. Aspect of transportation, we do work on. There's one of the really long things.
I didn't see anything on there tonight with.
Most of the stuff I focused on here was stuff that I was doing. The things that I have had also had a hand in, the things that I've been actually worked on, or actively working on. So much knowledge I can, if you have a question now, I know about that. But we do, probably our biggest, that percentage wise of the work that we do for the DOT. The FAA is actually one of our bigger sponsors. We do a lot of work for the FAA. All the next gen air traffic control system stuff. So much for the FAA. That's one of the bigger sponsors. Other questions?
Let's talk about the crosswalks at railroad crossings. Why do they have railroad crossings, but up in Canada, they have the red and white crosswalks?
As far as like the way that the prospect, to design the prospect?
Yeah, the design, I mean, the color.
So,
as I understand, or a yield sign. But they're white in color with black lettering. The yield sign is red with white. So the crosswalks, why aren't they the same as a yield sign, but the same crosswalks?
It's a very good question. I do know like anything that is like any of the signs that are including like road crossing signs, the advanced road crossing signs, the pavement markings, it's all controlled under what's called the MTCD, the Spatial Manual for All Traffic Control Devices. Some of the slides I showed earlier was some of the testing things that we've done. Some of the like, it just brings my mind. Somebody that had training, it's like, daytime, it's a straight road, obstructions and all. When they're distracted, but that's why we've done a lot of testing on flashing lights and other things that to kind of just see how people are involved in these things. But I think I'm not sure why they're designed that way.
I mean, in Canada, I think it's a much better.
I don't disagree with that. For something like they would, I mean, people still drive through red lights too, right? Or stop signs, but I think there people would very easily stop. But
I'm really glad. I mean, you gotta know the scene. Canadian railroad crossings, interesting.
Yeah, I have to ask my colleague who the big awesome research program that we have. Co-workers I worked with for 15 years. He's like the head on that. To ask him if he knows anything.
It seems to me it's just a simple thing. I mean, it's not something that has to be done overnight, but gradually fills them in. I think it would be much safer. The other thing I have a question on. It's the U.S. Army locomotives, they're painted red and they got the yellow stripes.
Yep.
Why do the yellow stripes on the front of the locomotive go from the
ground.
edge all the way up to the top, and they're in it like this. No,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, the chevrons on the front.
the chevrons are, they're in the wrong position.
I can give you a good answer to that one either. A lot of, actually, not a lot. Every one of those legacy older locomotives came from another railroad. They're all the pay. Most of these, those installations that they're on, you can see an army locomotive run down the rail line. It just doesn't, most of these locations, they're operating within the DOT confines of the base. So they're just doing switching. There's very few locations where they operate, like to say the bring piles to interchange. They operate outside of the base, but yeah, it's interesting.
Because if the chevrons are pointing down towards the river, theoretically, if somebody sees that, they're gonna think that's where they're supposed to go.
Right, right.
And you want them going to the side, if you're on street trackage or closer, to point you away from the train.
Mhm.
When I worked for the DOT, we had to put some signs up for bridges, the yellow and black markers. How come this doesn't go like this? Well, it's gotta go like this, because it's gotta point downward towards the road.
Right.
With the outside downward towards the road.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Well, like I said, most of these locomotives are involved in the program. I guess I've been doing it for a long time, but they all came in. Like I said, the Army's locomotive fleet was built in the 50s and 60s. Not to these new locomotives that we got purchased from them, where we had some more, like the specifications. Fortunately, this is the DOD. I mean, I can't speak for the DOD, but they, in a military solution at slow speeds, and like I mentioned earlier, lucky they got out like Mach 3 or 2, but very slow. They don't operate with high speeds. But yeah, that's a good point. I have to ask though too. I'm not knowing why I should bring that up next time. So what over chevrons paint that direction. Wow.
The chevrons, switching them, would you see where they're pointing towards the outside of the locomotive? What? That's the way they should be.
Right.
The English is funny, he doesn't care.
Any other questions?
Well, I drive school bus, you ought to see the people blow stop signs and traffic, so they don't get behind me.
I know they do that. I know stop sign right out front of my house, I can sit in my porch and count every car, just about every one of them wants a stop sign. Boom.
So online folks, they can't ask questions, right?
Next questions.
No, totally questions.
Yes. Oh, we all go on. Yeah.
But everybody's so
It's still muted. Corey and Paul.
You guys have no questions on that, or are you having trouble unmuting your mics? I guess that's no questions.
Shoot it down.
Right.
folks, this is contact info. Well, thanks very much. Really appreciate it. I'm really thinking back when everybody comes to me, and this has only happened a few times in my career. He still actually asked me those same thing. Would you come back and talk to our students? I'm like, absolutely, I love it. So when the small was asked me, asked me to come up, I was like, well, absolutely, I'd be honored to come up here. So really appreciate it.
Working on your people. The part two here.
Oh, geez. See,
That's what Jack said.
You should make a uniform.
Thank you, guys. So I So, like I said, I've done, just me personally, I've done so many really interesting things in 15 years, and I really had a challenge. I had to it's like, I've done so much. Something that just blows my mind. But it's just a testament to the type of work that we do, at the Volpe Center where I work. We touch every aspect of transportation. I think it's great because for people that, a lot of people like to do different things, don't like to be doing the same thing all the times. It's great because we get to do so many different projects and interact with so many different federal agencies, local, state, the general public, the list goes on. It's great. So I'm very blessed. I don't, for a second, I'm very blessed. I'm happy to where I'm at in my life, to be able to work for other people. Like I said, 15 years, maybe 30, because I got hired pretty well, so I'm gonna keep on chugging. No pun intended. This is a train albums, but yeah, been very fortunate, very blessed. Yeah, it's been great. So thanks. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Well, thank you. You're welcome.
Sorry for the technical difficulties tonight, but once we get the file finalized, I'll get it up on our YouTube channel at some point. I'm slowly getting some of the past programs done, so sorry you weren't able to see visualize it, but we'll get it up when the time comes. So I'll his information, and I'll send it out to the group if they want to reach out to them for anything.
Yeah, if you guys have any more questions, I'm certainly able to answer as much as I can. If you go to our website, there's a lot of really of information on there. So if you ever want to find out more about what we do, it's a type of things we do. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome. So I live in Mass, right on the national border.